Hello. Yes, I'm back with another convention video. Yes, it has been way too long. Oh my gosh, it's July 6th, and we are now, the convention has now been a month. A month has passed since the convention. Um, and I will say, look, I've gotten really busy. Been trying to, I've had for my sister channel, Gregarious Drivers of Greensboro, North Carolina, I've had probably content that I've wanted to post and edit since last Christmas. I was trying to get to that. I did that, by the way, if you want to check out some of my new content. I've been working on going back to finish my college degree in business administration, and just this past week I started classes. So yeah, I've been very busy. I've been trying to juggle a lot of balls in the air, but the one thing I'll tell you is that I'm still going to do the best that I can do to at least every 2 weeks or so put out a new video on this channel. I'm going to try. Sometimes a year they get a little slow, of course, but I have like a lot of material backed up for this channel that I now need to get to. But I wanted to do Gregarious Greensboro first because I just had stuff from like when snow was on the ground and the trees were naked. But anyway, this convention was, for me, as an aspiring political commentator, this convention was very, very hard for me to cover because this is the first convention where we had an election. Okay, in 2018 and 2014, the last two conventions I've covered, there's been no officer elections. So the material that I've presented to y'all on this YouTube channel has been a lot easier for me to interpret. So first, when I was going to cover the convention, I thought I would just first start Saturday night and analyze the chairman's and the vice chairman's election. But then a few days turned into a few weeks, and here it is now July, and I'm still not done covering the convention stuff. I put some videos up on the roll call votes and everything like that, but nothing too substantial yet. And finally, today, I put my foot down. I said, look, I'm going to do a video on the Friday business session, which has nothing to do with the chairman's election, and then maybe before the month of July is out, I will cover the chairman and the vice chairman's election. Both of those are very tedious, a lot of information I need to analyze and then get it out there on the YouTube channel. So let me go ahead and let's begin with Friday's business session. This was back on Friday. What was the date on that? Let me have a look-see here. That was back on Friday, June the 7th. And let's see, here we go. Okay. We're supposed to start at 1 o'clock, but we actually started at 1:17, which is, it is what it is. I'm not going to go into another lecture on tardiness, okay? But the first speaker of the afternoon was the interim chairman, Aubrey Woodard, who is also the chairman of the 11th Congressional District, which is Representative Congress by the wonderful Mark Meadows, and that is out in far, far west, might as well be Siberia, western North Carolina. The interim chairman, because remember Robin Hayes, I talked about him before, about all his legal personal issues. He was forced to resign back in April. So Aubrey Woodard here says the Central Committee exhibited rational leadership, making decisions and not knee-jerk reactions. The transition to a new chairman will be necessary but seamless. The Central Committee is working diligently on finding a new executive director. Executive director, by the way, is the person that serves under the chairman, or is supposed to serve under the chairman. As in the case of Dallas Woodhouse, that has not always been true. But getting back to Mr. Woodard's remarks, the Central Committee has looked over 100 applicants. He also is pleased to say that donations are still coming to the party on a daily basis. And he has consulted an independent analysis for how to handle the post-Hayes administration. And then we have our appointment of convention officers. First off, we have Billy Miller, the convention chair, who in my opinion has always done a very good job. He's been the convention chair since going back to the 90s now, so about at least 20 years or so. But he's still a fairly young guy. He probably started in his early 30s. I think now he's in his early 50s. Next we have Scott Cumby, who's a little bit younger than Billy Miller. He's the parliamentarian. In my opinion, he's a good guy. He supports the Convention of States and also does a lot with the DCCA, the District Chair and County Chairman's Administration, in conducting various trainings. Particularly the one they're really pushing right now is training in the precincts and getting your neighbors out to the polls to vote, right? Okay. Then we have, this might have been a typo or a misprint, or it might even actually be his name, but I have Hill Arms down as Sergeant of Arms. If anybody knows, can confirm or deny this, please let me know in the comments. But as of right now, I have Hill Arms for Sergeant of Arms. If you don't know what Sergeant of Arms is, that's basically it's like if you go to a bar and you get in a fight, you're escorted out by the bouncer. Same thing at convention. If you get too unruly and you start, cussing people out, threatening to blow the place up, anything really evil, the Sergeant of Arms is going to escort you out, and you'll be promptly ejected from the convention hall. Okay, then at this time, Billy Miller said that any items that people place on the chairs in the convention hall, such as resolutions, need permission from Billy Miller. He was very good about this. He said, look, I'm pretty open to people putting stuff on chairs, but just let me know what's going on. Okay, now we heard from the TARS Group, aka the NC Federation of Teenage Republicans, and Mr. Ray Palma. He says in 2017 TARS was in decline. In 2018, he met with Carolyn Justice to clean up the group, and now the TARS has 15 to 30 active groups, and it has a statewide presence. Right now, they're as far west as Rutherford County and as far east as Onslow County, right on the coast. And the group contributed 20,000 phone calls in 2018. Oh yeah, and then probably one of the coolest moments of the convention, Billy Miller then announced that Ray Palma had just upstaged the former governor, Pat McCrory. In other words, this was an error on the agenda. Pat McCrory was supposed to speak before Ray Palma, but Ray Palma, through no fault of Ray Palma, okay, this is not his fault, this was an oversight, probably from Billy Miller or somebody else up there, but Ray Palma spoke before Pat McCrory. And let me say this about Pat McCrory. If you go back and listen to some of my videos from 2014, I am not a McCrory fan. But at the end of the day, he was a much, much, much better governor than the current toilet bowl we have right now in the Cooper Pooper, right? I mean, this speech that he gave at the convention was spectacular. It was one of the best speeches that I have ever heard from him. And you know, if McCrory, if he decides to run for something in 2022, Congress, Senate, what have you, and he continues to give speeches like what I heard last month, sign me up for his campaign. Wow. Very good. So what he told the crowd there was that As governor, he saw a lot of suffering from people in Hurricane Matthew. Hurricane Matthew hit right at the end of his term back in September 2016. There was loss of neighborhoods, cities, schools, pets, and he told North Carolinians that he would not let them down, and he would say, "Hold your hands and lift you up," basically is what he said. And then he accused Governor Cooper has failed in that job, is what he said. And it's a broken promise, but Washington and Trump have done well for the state, but less than 4% of funds, available funds for hurricane recovery, have been spent. And then Pat McCrory said, "Governor Cooper, shame on you, shame on you, shame on you." And then 2019 now, sheriffs of major cities are not enforcing immigration laws, and cities have gone blue. They have become sanctuary cities, and that's inexcusable, he said. And he says we have a governor allowing them to happen. And then he said we had 17 people run District 3, 10 people in District 9. He says he started out in City Council. That's one reason why I was a good governor, was because of my grassroots experience. We need candidates for City Council, School Board. And if we lose these local metro areas, then we lose national races. The Concord area is growing really fast. And he finally said, the people in Princeville in eastern North Carolina aren't interested in hearing your political debates. It's just something to think about there. And yeah, I mean, these losing the metro areas, yeah, I mean, you're darn right that we would lose national races. Just look at what's happened in Virginia. Virginia used to be a dark red state as recently as 15 years ago. And now it's gone completely dark blue now. I mean, Trump lost there by about 5 percentage points. So it's not like all the way blue yet, but it's getting bluer, by the day. Okay, next we heard from the NCFCR, the Federation of the College Republicans, and it should be noted that Pat McHenry and Richard Hudson used to be CRs, and the CRs in the last election cycle made 300,000 voter contacts, and they work to actively recruit interns to the state party. Then we heard from the NC, a Federation of Young Republicans led by Clark Reamer. He said that YRs are not the future. What? Oh no, they are the present. Ha, gotcha moment there. One of them is Mark Johnson, the state superintendent of education. There are 4 YRs in the House, 1 YR in the Senate, and at least 5 from the YR Executive Board ran for state office in 2018. They also have local elected officials serving in Gaston and Randolph County. And they have 3 members who are currently serving on the Central Committee in Brad Overcash, 10th Congressional District Chair, 1st Congressional District Chair Thomas Hill, and Zach Kratz, the assistant, is he treasurer or secretary? One of those titles. Okay, then we heard from Mrs. Pat Smith, who heads up the NC Federation of Republican Women. Okay, she said that they're starting off new clubs in Lincoln County and Caldwell County. They're also trying to get a campaign school off the ground in early September. This is going to be open to all Republicans. They're going to have it on a Saturday in the Charlotte area. So anybody that you know that's interested in running for office, or maybe in a few years, like yours truly, who knows, please try to attend that event. I don't have the dates and times yet, but I'll keep y'all posted when it occurs. Okay. So here's a couple did you know facts. Since 1964, more women than men have voted in elections. And women voted 7% more than men in 2018. The margin was 66% to 59%. Next, we heard from Bob Pruitt, Mr. Eastern North Carolina Republican, I would call him. He's heads up the NC Federation of Republican Men. He said there's been a great turnout and a bigger venue was needed for, they had their annual convention back in May. I had family in town that weekend, so I was not able to attend, but I heard many good things and definitely will be attending in the future. Then we heard from the Frederick Douglass Foundation and Mr. Clarence Henderson, who lives right here in the beautiful city of Greensboro. His goal was to have 100 members in every single county, and he said that Vice President Pence invited them to ride in a motorcade to a fundraiser in Greensboro hosted by President Trump back in earlier this year. The group stood strong for the pro-life bill that was vetoed by the Cooper Pooper. And Mr. Henderson said, if you don't have life, you don't have anything. And then he announced on June 15th at 10 a.m., in Charlotte, they're going to have a pro-life rally at the Planned Parenthood building in Charlotte. And then we heard from Kim Cotton West, who is chair of the District and County Chairmen's Association. She talked about support and training over all the congressional districts as well as all the counties and precincts in the state. And oh yeah, by the way, she got reelected at the annual DCCA convention the following day. I have nothing against Kim Cotton West, but I will say that Roger Farina is a close personal friend. He's also a friend of what we're doing here on YouTube. Very, very, a very good man. Very big supporter of the conservative media, the underground conservative media. He had some really great ideas. One was a TV studio to do things like what we're doing, or trainings, or candidates can come in and film ads. Maybe these ideas will trickle to Mrs. Cotton West. We'll see. But I do think that Roger Farina really, hopefully, in 2021, he'll be voted, he'll get to the opportunity, or sometime in the future, Roger Farina will get the opportunity to serve as DCCA chairman, because I think he'll do a wonderful job in that particular role. Then we heard an update from the Republican County Commission Association. Yes, they even have one of those now. Remember, you go back to the 90s. They couldn't have one of the Republican County Commission groups because there were only enough Republican County Commissioners to fit in a phone booth. Excuse me. Maybe we need a drink of water. Okay. Kevin Austin of the Republican County Commission Association said that Haywood County flipped in 2018, and that now over half of all NC counties have a Republican majority on their commission chambers. Let's see here. They represent budgets totaling $12 billion, and let's see, something else. $4.4 billion going to schools, as well as supplements of teacher pay. Get this. 1976, there were 46 GOP commissioners statewide. 2018, 334 statewide now. Oh yeah, and the total percentage of county commissioners statewide North Carolina went from 11% to 56%. They've had lots of gains out west. However, they did lose control of New Hanover County, and this is the first time that the Dems have control of New Hanover County since 1992. Even though the registration gap, Republicans are up by about 1,000, maybe 2,000 votes now in New Hanover. When I was living there from 2009 to 2014, the Dems had the advantage, but the gap was less than 5,000 for the Dems. But every year it would go down. Yet, in 2018, the Democrats took over the county commission board, flipped it from 3-2 Republican to 3-2 Democrat, and they also won the state Senate seat held by Michael Lee, now held by Harper Peterson. A lot of that has to do with the film incentive issue, but also a lot of it has to do with just really weak and piss poor, I would say, leadership of that county GOP organization. However, I will say now that ever since the county convention in March, and he's only been at the helm 4 months, but has connected, pun intended, with the base in New Hanover County and has done a really good job. So far, so good for Will Connect. In 2018 also, no surprise here because of Jim Womack, Lee County flipped Dem to GOP. Guilford County right here in this studio where we are, aka bedroom, Guilford County, the Republicans have a 5-4 majority. Also, believe it or not, Forsyth County, they also have a 5-4 Republican majority. But remember that if you lose one seat, you go to 4 GOP and 5 for the Dems. Pickup opportunities around the state in 2020: Bladen County, Columbus County, Elizabeth City area, Hyde County, Wilson County, Montgomery County, Swain County, Jones County, and Watauga County. Then we have our convention welcome from Scott Elliott, the chairman of the Cabarrus County GOP. And did you know this? Concord, because it's been growing so fast, recently tied Asheville for the 7th largest city in North Carolina. That's crazy. And also, Concord Mills is the largest tourist attraction in North Carolina. Concord Mills, of course, being a huge shopping mall, like over 200 stores. Big place. And also, did you know, I did not know this, but the very first commercial gold mining operation in the U.S. was right in Cabarrus County before California. Okay. Then on the convention agenda, we heard from Congressman Mark Walker. He said only 6 countries, and North Korea is one of them, allow infanticide. He also said you can be conservative and effective. He is the number 4 ranked Republican in the House, and he is chair of the GOP Study Committee. Okay, now after that we heard from our judicial candidates. Former state senator, now current state judicial candidate Tamara Behringer. I've talked about her before, but a couple little known facts. She has a 19-year-old daughter who plans to be a naval chaplain. That's pretty cool. And her husband ran a law firm for several years. They also have adopted 3 children from foster care. And then we heard from April Wood, who's also a state judicial candidate running from Davison County. And she talked about the ballot in 2020. And on the ballot, there's going to be 3 Supreme Court seats and 5 Court of Appeals seats. And the good thing is, the Republicans right now, they have a candidate for every single seat. And another good thing is there will be no primaries either. Well, actually, that's kind of a bad thing to think about it, but it is what it is. April Wood is the current district court judge of Davie County and Davidson County. And she has experience with criminal and family law, also with children, as far as juvenile delinquents and child neglect cases. Now we start getting to the heavier stuff. The introduction of electronic voting with our friend from last year, Tim Alcott. So basically, we handed out these little devices, and we did a test question, okay? And the test question was, who makes the best chicken sandwich? The choices were Chick-fil-A, Bojangles, and McDonald's. And these results, if you've spent any time in North Carolina or the Southeast, these results should not be surprising at all. McDonald's had 3% of the vote. Bojangles, 11% of the vote. And the big winner, and I completely agree with this, Chick-fil-A had 85% of the vote for who makes the best chicken sandwich. Although I will say Bojangles, I thought might be at least 20%. But McDonald's 3%, yeah, that's about right. Okay. And then we had our report of the Credentials Committee for Mr. Jason Lemons. You can listen to that on another YouTube video. I've already done that. But we had a little business session, if you will. Dallas Woodhouse made a motion to reopen registration for 15 minutes because there's been a lot of traffic and weather issues, especially on I-85, right just about 10 miles north of the convention venue in Rowan County. But John Stewart, who he's a friend, but he's very establishment, and I tend to disagree with him most of the time. I agreed with him, though, this time, believe it or not. He said that it is now 3:45 p.m. If we reopen registration, it will be 5 o'clock before we get to business session. Okay, so what happened next was a compromise. And I'm so glad, so happy that Billy Miller made it happen. Basically, Billy Miller said, look, we're going to reopen registration, but we're going to continue the business session. Kind of a win-win, and I'm surprised. This kind of situation has happened every single year I've been at the convention, 2011 to 2014, and then last year, 2018. Every single year, some knucklehead comes on the convention floor, wants to delay or wants to reopen registration, pause the business, and then, we're delayed for an hour and a half instead of 15 minutes. Okay? What in the world? But this year, I'm so glad that Billy Miller said, look, I'm going to reopen registration, but I'm not going to adjourn the convention. Now we heard from John McClain. No, not McCain, John McClain, who presented the report of the Rules Committee. And our buddy Thomas Hill of Gates County wanted to amend Rule 10, Section G. This would strike the word majority and replace with plurality. Majority equals 50% of the vote, plurality equals most of any number. This motion, though, has been ruled out of order because this is not in Robert's Rules of Order, and the convention must follow Robert's Rules of Order. Okay, and then I'll see, Ralph Heist, Mitchell County, Section 10G. I had a question about weighted voting. The chair of Granville County asked about the hierarchy of order, the RNC, then the state, then the Robert's Rules of Order. And then a point of information was heard from Lake County where there was a request bringing people back in who left for the registration delay. But the person from Lake County is ruled out of order because the convention chair never allowed a recess to occur. Next, we have the Plan of Organization Committee report, my favorite part of the entire convention, except for maybe officer elections. But even then, the officer elections are so drawn out, and which I'll talk about in another video. But Amendment 1 talks about succession of officers. Okay, on March 4th, 2019, Vice Chair Michelle Nix resigned from office. So then the question was asked by the Central Committee, do you call an executive committee meeting? Can you find a venue for 550 people? Then what about county conventions that are going on at that same time? How can we give 10 days notice? Oh yeah, and then we have district convention in April. So a decision was made by the Central Committee to not elect a vice chair, or postpone it, until the June convention. Now, on April 2nd, 2019, Robin Hayes was indicted. Okay, and then the question was if or should the chairman resign who was in charge. Well, when you go back to the current plan of organization, it says the vice chair should act in place as chair, but then Robert's Rules of Order takes over if there's no vice chair, and according to Robert's Rules of Order, after 11 duties are listed for vice chair, the secretary would be in line to take over if the vice chair resigns. So then we have, talk about the Section 57, National Committee Man, Committee Woman, the officer's rank, and then Article 6B, 4A of the plan of organization. The chairman, this is where we got to now, the solution to this problem. The chairman may delegate his duties to another district chairman. Okay. Ada Fisher, the current national committee woman for the NCGOP, had a point of information at this time. She said, are you recommending we bypass the national committee woman and go to the secretary to serve as chairman? And at this time, Billy Miller said that Ada Fisher was ruled out of order because she was going into debate as part of her point of information. Okay, so let me stop here for a second. Convention jargon, right? Point of information. Point of information is when you ask a question. Okay? It is not meant to be used to go into a debate on a subject. Only ask a question. Okay? So if you speak more than a sentence or two, Billy Miller is going to bang his gavel and say you're out of order. Remember that. Point of information is only for asking questions. Okay? And then Aubrey Woodard, the interim chairman, speaks in favor of going to the approving Amendment 1. Okay. And this is basically, it says that specifies that elections to fill vacancies for state chairman and state vice chairman will be held within 60 days of vacancy. Okay. Amendment 2 and 3 are talking about proportional allocation of delegates. Amendment 3, more specifically, who calls the conventions. Dallas Woodhouse said he urged adoption, and this is the most important vote that we can do today. And then this got a lot of groans and moans from the audience. But Dallas Woodhouse said, if you don't pass this, we could have a problem next year. And Larry Pittman, who is who I really like, is one of my favorite state legislators. He basically went to the floor and let him have it. I don't know. I didn't type anything next to a name. I really wish I could have gotten his speech, but it was pretty fiery. Says, I oppose this. Don't tell us what to do. Okay. And then C.B. McKinney of Cherokee County said this is an attempt to water down the Trump vote, and candidates were, go back. In 2016 at the convention, there was an attempt to water down the Trump vote, and candidates were attempting to steal votes away. So Mr. McKinney supports this proportional allocation of delegates, because it would clamp down on it would put an end to any kind of thievery of delegate votes. Okay, so Wake County, someone from Wake County said, what are the consequences of North Carolina not following the RNC rules? Well, according to Scott Cumbie, would jeopardize the seat of our delegates at the National Convention. And Dallas Woodhouse said there are rules that we have to comply with to get our delegates seated. Then Michael Speciale, representative from Craven County, said, as an elected official, I don't like it when I'm told to vote a certain way on something. Ada Fisher said the RNC gave North Carolina money and she doesn't like endorsing candidates before the primary, because right now it is assumed that Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee in 2020. However, there is still going to be a candidate filing period, and there's still going to be a primary, like there was with Obama in 2012. Now, if things stand as they are right now, next year's primary, if you're a Republican or unaffiliated in North Carolina, can also vote in Republican primary right now. You're going to have a question, and it's simple. Do President of the United States, Republican nomination, Donald Trump, or no preference? Okay. In 2012, it was Barack Obama, Democratic primary, or no preference. Okay. On the ballot. Keith Kidwell, who's also another really good guy, he's doing really great work in the state legislature. He asked, would it be possible to get a copy of the RNC plan for reference? And Carl Miska, our good buddy over in Craven County, yells, "It's a secret." Keith Kidwell then says, would the National Committee Man, Committee Woman be able to verify this? Ada Fisher said, National Committee Woman said, this amendment is correct in terms of RNC rules. And then Janice Parker of Henderson County said, if the RNC wants it done, then why haven't we done it in the past? John Lewis gave the plan of organization to RNC lawyers to help prevent 2020 problems. Dallas Woodhouse said, it is a routine matter for North Carolina to update our procedures a year ahead of time, as the RNC is constantly reworking their procedures. And then Representative Speciale said, I recommend a no. We're voting on something based on speculation. I don't like being told to vote a certain way. And then Mark Brody, who was a very good guy, doing a great job as RNC committee man, said we need to spell out what we want to do for the July RNC meeting, which is going to be held in Charlotte, and maybe I'll be able to go. I don't know when it's going to be, and as soon as I'm done this video, I need to look up when it's going to be. Then Deborah of Alexander County spoke in opposition. She said, we don't know what we're voting for here. There's no actual concrete wording in this as to what we're voted on. Okay. And then Scott Cumbie, the original maker of the change to the plan organization, spoke in favor of changing plan organization. Rule 17 RNC rules any presidential primary and anything to allocate delegates before March 15th. This allows that date to change without the executive committee coming back to change it. However, Hal James of Craven County opposed this change. He said, politics is local. I get 25 to 30 people working my precinct, but it goes downhill when you tell us what to do. And then Michael Floyd of Mecklenburg County spoke in support of Scott Cumbie's amendment. Keith Kidwell, Beaufort County, opposed this amendment. He said the RNC committee man or woman can speak on our behalf. We don't have enough documentation to give delegates. Documents should be cited and examined. We, the delegates, have had not enough time to read it. John Stewart, District 9 chairman, said, how about we allow a representative for the Trump campaign to address the convention? And that is Mr. Josh Fraley. Josh Fraley gave us the most simplistic answer of the entire weekend. He said it's given a chance to speak on a 2/3 vote. Oh, excuse me, no. He said this amendment change puts North Carolina rules in compliance with RNC rules. But in order for Mr. Fraley to speak, 2/3 of the convention hall had to vote in favor. And I voted in favor. Okay, let's see what this guy has to say. And his answer was very simplistic. Back to Ada Fisher, Rules Committee representative on the RNC, had a point of information, but she was going to debate again. And look, after he was overruled, she said, I just want to tell people how it's ruled, how it is. Of course, it's got the biggest, probably one of the biggest laughters of the whole weekend. Okay. And then back to Larry Pittman. He said, we do things the way we want to do them in North Carolina. I'm a Tar Heel with the family history going back to the 1600s. You don't make those rules for North Carolina. And then the senator from District 25 said, I came here to support the President of the United States. And then back to the opposition. A lady took the floor. I didn't get her name, unfortunately. But she said the problem with Amendment 3 is on who calls the district convention. This is a loss of power at the grassroots level. I completely agree with this. Back to Jon Stewart, spoke in support. He said, look, if we don't pass this, there's going to be 57 empty seats from North Carolina on national television. And finally, Rick Woods, Watauga County, said, call the question. Call the question means that you're ending debate on the amendment, okay? So, Amendment 2 and 3, believe it or not, passed overwhelmingly, even though there was so much opposition. I myself thought it was worded very poorly, very hard to understand. And anytime you get any of those amendments, no matter what Jon Stewart or Dallas Woodhouse or any of the establishment people say, oh, we're going to have 57 empty seats at the National Convention. You know, if at the end of the day, you put the threats aside and just ask yourself, if this amendment is poorly written, it's hard to understand, just vote no, okay? And live to fight another day. Then John McClain made a motion to seat late delegates. And I'm not sure how. I think he was overruled because registration was still going on, apparently. Amendment 4. Steve Radner of Beaufort County spoke in support of this amendment. And it says, somewhere in here, the amendment designates the county party's website as the preferred notification mechanism, but it allows a county party to deviate from the procedure with approval from the State Credentials Committee. The change does not preclude a county party from putting additional notifications in other media without Credentials Committee approval, so long as the requisite notice is placed on the website. Steve Radner said this is a good amendment. A lot of people don't get their news from newspaper. Scott Cumby said that county chairs could approach Credentials Committee, the State Credentials Committee, to get permission to use social media for announcing the county convention. And then there was a motion to insert social media into this amendment. Harvey West from the 3rd District, who serves on the Planarization Committee, asked, at what point on social media do you draw the line? Is everyone in this party on the same social media source? And then he said, you know, there's Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. There's so many social media places, you know. Very good question, I must say. James Heath, there are 3,000 TV channels too, but outreach to the YRs on social media is vital. And then we have opposition from Matt Overby of Lake County. He said small counties don't have websites, but do have Facebook pages. And to these small counties, it would be cost prohibitive for radio or TV ads. Then we have a point of information from Mr. Jack Brosh of Mecklenburg County. He asked, is this issue not covered on the next page? Scott Cumby then said the purpose of public notice is to publicly notify people. Leave the amendment as is and let individual counties do their thing. The purpose of this is to avoid paying the newspaper. Larry Pittman then had a point of information, said, why do we have to have the Credentials Committee approval in there? Scott Cumby replied, the purpose of that is public notice so that a county cannot hide their county convention. So people, it's public notice. So county can't just invite whoever they want to their county convention. Okay. Now, the room at this time got a little testy and heated, and Billy Miller said delegates will maintain decorum and respect for the chairman. No pronouns can be hurled at the chairman. Refer to you is unacceptable. In other words, a couple people mentioned, hey you, I want to speak. Yeah, that's completely very, very rude to do that in a convention setting. I will agree with Billy Miller definitely on that. Okay, then Randolph County said the plan of organization met for many hours and times. This change does not limit social media, but you need approval still from the Credentials Committee. And then the crowd again got very antsy. Billy Miller said shouting, being angry, or I'm feeling passionate does not give priority to speak on the convention floor. The amendment to add social media, that amendment fails. I actually voted for it because, again, the thing about the Young Republicans hits close to home, obviously. But the amendment 4, without this adding social media, passed overwhelmingly. Amendment 5 through 7 define days going from 15 to 10 days. This is a consistent change as far as how much notice you give when announcing a precinct meeting or a county or district convention. Those passed via acclamation. Amendment 8, Amendment 9, Amendment 10, 11 were also approved via acclamation, no debate. Amendment 12, which says, explanation, precinct members who wish to be elected as delegates or alternates to their county convention but are unable to attend the precinct meeting are eligible to be elected. Jack Brosh had a point of information from Mecklenburg County. He asked, can the chair define precinct member? And Scott Cumby said, any registered Republican who resides in that particular precinct. And then Mr. Brosh again asked, what would the purpose of the county district convention be? Well, you would not have to attend the conventions to be a state delegate. And then another point of information, Chairman, a number of people who were elected at their county convention were not present. And then someone from New Hanover County said, we had to be present at our county convention in order to go to state convention. Then Chairman Miller did a good job of clearing this up. Counties currently have the option to elect absentee delegates to district and state conventions or reject those delegates. This amendment would force counties to accept absentee delegates. Linda DeVore of Cumberland County says anyone who is unable to attend, whether they were unable to or so this says anyone who is unable to attend, whether they were unable to or just didn't feel like going. Scott Cumby responded, the intent of this change and the plan of organization was to allow death in a family or illness. Now, you can choose to go to a basketball game instead of your county convention, but your party still has the right to deny your election as a delegate to district and state convention. Okay. And Michael Lyons of Macon County then made a motion to debate. Let's see. But then, John Stewart said, I support the amendment and wish to call the question, which it did. The end of the debate is passed unanimously. Now, there's one more amendment which is brought up, which was not in the original plan of organization packet. And Article 9, Section 4 talks about endorsing in primaries, added clearer but more strict language to that. This was Article 9, Section 4 of the plan organization. However, this did not go to the floor for debate because this was found to be not given to the Plan Organization Committee in advance. Now, 1,000 copies were passed out on the convention floor, but someone made a motion to adjourn. It was now 6 o'clock, and the Friday business session came to a close. For the Conservative Pelican, I'm Bobby Crawford. Bye-bye.